It was a pouring rain in London that night. The damp streets reflected the pale yellow lights, shimmering like broken glass. Sam Heughan walked quickly, his coat pulled tightly over his shoulders, his eyes darting around as if he were afraid someone was watching him. He had just left a closed-door meeting about his new film, where mysterious whispers were making him uneasy. On the other side of the city, Caitriona Balfe was experiencing the same feeling. She had received an envelope hidden in a gift box sent backstage. Inside was only an old photo, a picture of her and Sam smiling brightly on set many years ago, but on the back was a line written in red ink. Every memory has a price. Don't let secrets be exposed. That night, Sam and Caitriona met at a small cafe. Unlike their usual conversations, they were both silent for a few minutes, the only sound being the rain outside the window. Sam pulled a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket, and cryptic code. Caitriona quietly placed the photo on the table. They looked at each other, realizing they were caught in the same shady game. From that moment, the journey began. They secretly investigated, following the clues scattered on the set, in unpublished scripts, and even in seemingly meaningless conversations left by colleagues. The deeper they dug, the more they realized there was a hidden force that wanted to manipulate their image and their personal lives, turning everything into tools for a larger plan, a film that would never be released, but could change both of their careers and lives. The sleepless nights, the anxious looks on set, and the moments when they could only rely on each other for a little bit of faith, all of it made the bond between Sam and Caitriona stronger. But at the same time, the darkness around them was also thicker. And then, one fateful evening, they discover a secret room hidden under the studio, filled with photos, videos, and recordings of themselves from years past. Someone has been watching them for a long time, with an unknown purpose. Sam whispers, "We only have two choices. Either run away to save ourselves, or face the truth and find out." Caitriona replies with a determined look, "You know, we never run away." A heavy knock comes from the door, someone is entering. Everything goes dark, only the sound of rapid heartbeats in the darkness. The story opens a new turn. Will they discover the truth behind the force that controls their lives, or will they be swallowed by the secret? The door to the basement room swung open, and light streamed in like a knife through the darkness. Sam and Caitriona instinctively held each other, their hearts pounding. The person who entered was not a stranger as they had expected, but a familiar face, the assistant director who had been with them for many seasons. But his eyes were strangely cold, unlike his usual friendliness. "You shouldn't be here," he said hoarsely, closing the door. On the surrounding walls, a series of small screens played behind-the-scenes footage, secretly filmed videos from years ago, even private moments in the dressing room, seemingly secret conversations. Caitriona felt goosebumps rise all over her body. "Who did all this?" she asked in a trembling voice. He didn't answer directly, just placed a thick file on the table, flipping through the pages covered with their photos. "Everything is recorded, not just for the audience, but for a greater purpose." Sam frowned, taking a step forward. "For what purpose? And why does it concern us?" A faint smile flashed across the assistant director's face. "Do you think you're just actors? No. You're symbols, a living story. And when symbols are too powerful, people want to control them. The world only knows Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe for what they're allowed to see. What's behind the curtain is the story we're writing." The air in the room became thick, as if every word weighed heavily on their chests. Caitriona squeezed Sam's hand, whispering, "We have to find a way out of here, before we get sucked in any further." That night, the two left the underground room in silence. But from that moment on, nothing around them was the same. On set, the scrutiny became more intense, and the laughter of the crew also contained hidden meanings. Every time they turned their backs, the feeling of someone watching them made their necks shiver. Sam began to investigate in his own way. He secretly copied the code he had received, then contacted an old friend who was a codebreaker. The result surprised him. It was the coordinates of an archive located on the outskirts of London. Meanwhile, Caitriona continued to ask her old friends in the industry, but most of them were silent or showed fear when they heard the word secret project. One of them only had time to text her a single line: "Don't trust anyone, even those who seem close to you." Finally, late one night, Sam and Caitriona drove to the suburbs. The old warehouse building was covered in moss, its doors locked with iron chains. But inside, they found things even more terrifying than the underground studio room: hundreds of boxes of files, each labeled with the names of actors, directors, and other people in the entertainment industry. Their entire lives were recorded, monitored, and archived as backup data to serve some force. On a corner shelf, Caitriona found a box of files bearing her name. Inside were a series of photos, from when she was a young girl just starting out in the industry to the present. There were even private letters, which she had never told anyone she had written. The feeling of being violated made her shiver. Sam also found his file, which detailed his schedule, relationships, and even personal decisions that he seemed to have made himself. "Someone is writing a script for our lives," Sam said, his voice choking. Caitriona looked at him, her eyes determined but also filled with fear. "Then it's time for us to rewrite our own script." However, as they were about to leave the warehouse, an alarm suddenly sounded. Red lights flashed, the iron door slammed shut, trapping them inside. The loudspeaker echoed throughout the room. "You're too curious, Sam and Caitriona. But remember, no story exists outside our control." The voice was not the assistant director's voice, but a strange, deep, authoritative one. Sam rushed to try to break the lock, but failed. Caitriona searched around, and finally discovered a small tunnel behind the filing cabinets. They both crawled in, the alarm still echoing behind them, their heartbeats mingling with the sound of hurried footsteps in the darkness. They escaped, but the truth became increasingly frightening. If a force could record, control and manipulate their careers and personal lives, then what was truly theirs? In the days that followed, Sam and Caitriona were no longer the same. They still appeared in public, still smiled, still acted, but behind that smile was extreme tension. Every time the camera lights went off, the two looked at each other in silence, as the only confirmation that they were not alone. One evening, sitting by the window of the small apartment, Caitriona whispered, "Sam, if all we live is just a script they wrote, then will we ever be truly free?" Sam took her hand, his eyes determined. "Freedom is not something that someone gives us. Freedom is something we take, no matter the price." Outside, the city was still bustling, still noisy as if nothing had ever happened. But in the darkness, those two people had begun another journey, a journey to reclaim their own story. And somewhere, those standing in the dark still observe, smiling coldly. Let's see how far they can go before being swallowed. Late at night, Sam and Caitriona sat together in a dark apartment, the streetlights filtering through the curtains like fragile streaks of light. They had escaped the archive, but the truth they knew only added to their burden. Every line, every scene, even their everyday encounters. How much of it was real, how much of it was just, they wanted. The phone rang. A text message without a number appeared on the screen. "You've chosen the hard way. But if you want to know the ultimate truth, go to Paris. It all starts there." Sam and Caitriona looked at each other. There was no turning back. A new journey lay ahead, more dangerous, darker, but also the only chance to regain control of their lives. Outside, the sky was just beginning to lighten. A new chapter awaited, but was it freedom, or an even bigger trap?